And good Monday afternoon. It is Monday, October 7th, just at 4 p.m. And we are chatting with the candidates. We have been chatting with candidates for Newport City Council and Newport School Committee all last week, all this week. There are so many that we had to fit them into 2 weeks. We are trying to get them all in before early voting starts on Wednesday, October 16th. So a week from Wednesday, early voting starts. November 5th is general election. So back in August, we invited all the candidates running for Newport School Committee as well as Newport City Council to join us for a one-on-one conversation, 30 minutes long. We get to know the candidates. Hopefully you get to know the candidates, get to know what they stand for, if they're an incumbent, what's been going on, why they seek re-election, and all of that good stuff. If you want to watch any of them, if you want to compare, contrast candidates, all of the videos as we complete them are available on whatsupnuke.com as a video, as a story, and as audio. So I think that does that. Today we are on Newport School Committee. We are chatting with 4 different candidates throughout the day for Newport School Committee. This is number 3 of the day. One more to come. And if you want to see our schedule for the rest of the week, all available on our website. Dr. Sandra J. Flowers joins me. Dr. Flowers, how are you? Technology. Well, while we wait for her to join, I'll continue to let you know that we do have interviews scheduled all the way up through the week. Dr. Flowers.
Okay, back on again now. Okay,
we're back on. We are live. How are you?
I'm pretty well, thanks.
All right. And technology, it's a thing.
Oh, dear, yeah.
Yes. Tell us, you're seeking re-election. Tell us about a little bit about yourself, why you're seeking re-election, how long you've been on school committee, all of that good stuff.
Okay. Well, right now I'm in the approaching the end of my 8th term, which means 16 years. And I was a teacher in the Newport public school system for 30 years. And I retired in 1995 and continued to work on my PhD at Salve Regina, so a degree in humanities. And even while I was teaching, I would go to school committee meetings, council meetings, just to get an idea of what's happening. And I remember one time thinking, I'd like to be right up there with that school committee for a month. Well, there's been a lot of months have passed by since then. And I ran, and I've been successful, 8 different elections. And I figured I'd put one more term in, hopefully. If the people of Newport wish to re-elect me, I'd be certainly most grateful. My expertise, obviously, is in education. I was an elementary teacher. And I also taught in the education department at Salve Regina University for several years. So that's my field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you looking to do just one more term, or are you taking a term at a time?
I want to do at least one more term. Yes. Okay. I mean, I had to be practical about things, but I am still energetic. I'm involved with a number of organizations in the area, and I certainly keep busy. I was afraid I was going to be bored when I retired, but it hasn't happened yet.
I was going to say, combined with your 30 years of teaching and your, I think I did the math, 16 years, or you told me 16 years.
On the committee, yeah.
46 years of Newport education.
Yes.
Of being involved in education in Newport. One more term would put you at 48. You're almost at 50 years of being involved.
I know. Someone said, "Oh, you got to keep going." Yeah.
What has changed since the first time you got on the council and now?
Some things have changed and some have remained the same. I think some of the challenges in education, and this is nationwide, are primarily many of the difficulties that our young people have to deal with. It can be the technology, it's social emotional learning, it's mental health, it's what's going on in the world that can affect people's sense of well-being. So much is expected of educators. The economy affects sometimes the home life of our youngsters, and that affects their learning also. But again, a lot of that was in place when I first started teaching back in 1965, as they say, way back. Much of what is being taught is pretty much the same, and our teachers have to learn some of the new approaches to education. And sometimes you look at when they say, for example, you have to use phonics, you have to teach phonics. It's something that was done for decades and eons, like I like to say. But then people would bring in some new styles of teaching reading, language arts. Modern math came back in the 1960s, and it's a lot of those strategies have kind of gone by the wayside, but new ones come in. So the educators, and by extension, school committee members, have to be made aware of some of these changes and how it really affects the day-to-day workings in a classroom. I
What?
think technology,
Yeah.
we're seeing it today. The fact that anything that happens is instantaneously put out to the public so that everyone knows what's going on. And it can be a good thing. It can be a good thing too.
Yeah. What
Mhm.
keeps you going? What keeps you? What gives you? I want to do another term. Is it the Rogers High School project? Is it something else?
Part of it is the Rogers High School project. Now, I'm not on that school building committee, but we get every bit of information that occurs there, and there are discussions among all of us on the committee, and when people ask questions. That's part of it, because my first year was Pell School.
Yeah.
That was this big thing. Is this bond issue going to pass? And a tremendous, a vast majority of the people who vote in the city of Newport said, yes, let's do it. They had done the refurbishing of the middle school. And then, of course, with the high school, finding out that the state said how it was in the worst condition. And we all had a chance to have input, and the public had a chance to have input into what they really wanted there. That's part of it. Part of it, too, is that I believe that I still have a lot to offer, because, and I say this all the time, I don't look at just two sides of issues. I look at all sides, because there are all these little nuances in the various issues that are educational, that are content, dealing with the content area of teaching, but also all of the other factors that affect our students, their families, our educators, and the public at large. So I think the pride that I had in Newport Public Schools when I was an active teacher, I was in the classroom, and even volunteering, helping out in the kindergarten classes for a while. I helped out in those, and also mentoring a couple of young people. I still say that I still want to keep my attention on what's going on, and see that I keep learning from what's happening. And by learning, I read all the information that comes across in the media, and I want to contribute to the betterment of our schools. And with that is the betterment of our, what we call it, One Newport. I'm
What
born
do
and
you?
raised here. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think what are you hearing from voters? What are you hearing from parents? What do you think the biggest issues or opportunities are right now?
Well, you have various takes on on things. I think many people, many parents are quite pleased what their children are being exposed to in terms of education. the various opportunities they have, like in our elementary school, the sailing lessons and the math and all the other content areas that they're taught through all of that, with sailing, the ocean, the environment, conservation, that transition from the elementary school into the secondary level is taking care of that at the middle school grades. That's probably the toughest area to work in, because not the academics as much as the young people are starting to become transitioning into being young adults. Some parents whose youngsters may have some particular challenges, obviously they are very concerned about what their youngsters are, how they're being treated, how they're being educated. So we get some issues people will speak to me about that. They'll come to me about that. And I never promise an answer. You can't say, I'm going to get this done for you, but I will find out what can be done, let people know who to speak to. Have you spoken to the teacher, the principal, or the department chair? And I can speak to the superintendent and say, this person has an issue. I will go right to the superintendent and say, I have a concern about something I may have seen or heard, and I want to find out the story. So I get the person who speaks to me, I get that side of the story, the superintendent, then you find out what the issues really are. A case in point, Ms. will bring it up, is this cell phone usage.
Yes.
I know it, yeah. And I had said at the very beginning, well, if I was in the classroom, I'd say, all right, kiddos, take out your cell phones. For those who have them, but I guess practically everyone does, we're going to learn how to use a compass because it's right on the cell phone. Or we're going to find out what the weather is like in California right now or in the Southern Hemisphere. There were so many good uses for it. But as with everything else, it can be misused or abused. So this is an issue too, that we've had 2 workshops so far where we don't make a decision, but we hear everyone's input. And I believe another one probably will be coming up. With that in mind, there are policies, detailed policies written about practically everything you can think of that goes on in the school department. I remember, again, when I was teaching, the manual was, well, I'm showing, how thick it was, and eventually it was edited down, but the policies are not just, dashed off. Legal has to look at it, and we keep updating, and every time something new is invented, you have to write a policy about that. And a lot of that information comes from the Department of Education.
How do you?
So I'm on the policy subcommittee. I chaired it for a while, and then now Stephanie Winslow's in charge of that one. Finance also, that's another thing. There are people who will say, how money is being spent on various items. My take always is, are we getting our money's worth? If we're going to bring a new program in, say a reading series or some methods of teaching language arts, whatever. If this progress is shown, keep it. It's an investment. Whatever we spend should be looked at as an investment. Just like in keeping the buildings maintained, that's an investment in education. If you're using some new strategy or some program, and you really don't see that a negligible increase in achievement, revisit it. Say, is it really worth keeping it up? And that's probably what you would do in any entity, pretty much.
How do you, give me your take, or how do you make sense of everything that's happened with Rogers' construction project? What is your answer if a parent or a voter comes up to you and says, "Explain to me what happened here"? What is your take?
Well, first of all, if we're talking about the cost, I think as soon as that bond passed, the prices went up. We can blame everything on the pandemic, of course. We can do that. Whether we should is something else, because, and I've said to people too, because you just go to the grocery store and you want to buy a box of cereal and you say, oh my word, just the price of something. You say, this is ridiculous. What do people with a lot of children do? The prices have spiraled. And for a while, when they were getting the building materials coming in, we were hoping that the steel was going to be delivered on time because of the transportation problems out west. And it did. Things did arrive. The cost was not something that I think anyone anticipated. The cost increase, they anticipated. They do have, always have extra reserves involved in any of these budgets. I say it was, I want to say shocking, because you kind of expect some things, but it was a little disheartening to say that the prices went up so much for the equipment. As far as some of the changes to the plans, like we're talking about a couple of the career and tech programs that I really, really hope we can keep with us. I think that it looks more positive than it was before. There's some difficult decisions that have to be made, even in the design of some of the building. It matter what school you're building or what other kinds of structures that are being planned. I believe that many people, the general public, parents, students themselves, some of the teachers, when asked, what would you want in a school? And perhaps the question should have been, what do you need?
Yeah.
We're not going to get the sun, moon, and stars. I said that to one of the architects. I said, there are a lot of things we want, but what do we really need? And it's kind of, I think that both things are getting together on that. I mean, even just going in when we've had some tours, you say, wow. That dirt pile seems to be the target of more attention than it really should be. I think we all found out that site, having been a dumping ground back in the World War II era, never should have happened. But we certainly can't blame people who are in charge now. That is something that happened, and maybe this was just what was needed to happen. That's being taken care of. I have every confidence that the people who are keeping everything covered, all of the people who came in to inspect and to make sure that safety is of the utmost importance for everyone, no matter what. And that's more important than anything. That's being taken care of. I understand some of the concerns, especially of the neighbors when things are going on, but in the end, they should be happy with the final product. The school it's compact in the sense there's not a lot of wasted space.
Yeah, and you believe it's still a good investment.
Yeah.
And you believe, obviously, that it's still a good investment.
Yeah, I'm losing your voice a bit. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I could. What else do you think for the next council, for the next school committee? What other opportunities, or what do you think the biggest priorities are for the next school committee?
I think for the next school committee, well, besides finishing up the school, but that's going to be done. That will be done. I think really putting much of our attention to bringing all of our students up to meeting their potential. we talk about equality and equity. And equity, I think one of the, a good way to describe equity, I saw this in an illustration in one of the Kids Count presentations maybe 1 or 2 years ago, that if you see a fence and a game going on the other side, and there are 3 youngsters who want to watch it. The tall youngster, the one who's older maybe, can see right over the fence. Another child who is younger and needs to have maybe a box to stand on, so that child can see over the fence. They both can see the same thing. You might have another youngster who might have some kind of limitation, and you have to give more support for them to see the same thing. And that's pretty much what equity is. We have all kinds of content area to teach our students, and you really should not teach everyone with the same style, the same techniques, perhaps even the same materials. So that is something that committee members have to be made aware of. We're not going in there and doing it, and we're not even sitting and doing plans with the teachers. They're the experts, the people in the trenches, as we all say. They're the ones who are supposed to know all of that material, and of course, with their administrators guiding them. That's an important point. Academically, also, mental health of our young people. This is extremely important, and I think understanding the many challenges that so many students have, and this has been in the case for many, many years, back when I was teaching too. The challenges that the children have to carry with them all the time. That I've had some youngsters, again, many years ago, that they always seem to carry a lot of their belongings with them. They were afraid they weren't going to find them when they got home.
Yeah.
I mean, it really can be very sad. There are some youngsters whose attendance is spotty, to say the least. And if you ask about how they do certain kind of math or some point they might have had in a social studies class, well, I guess I was out that day, but then out those days, because whoever's in charge of them, the parents or some caretakers or whoever, felt they wanted to keep the child home for helping to take care of younger ones, helping to take care of an older family member, or just maybe not having that total trust in what's going on in the schools. So I think we as committee members have to be able to sincerely address these issues and really understand, and I know we do, but it has to be continued, to understand that our young people carry a lot of baggage, a lot of mental baggage when they're coming to school. I saw that many, many years ago. Some things haven't changed. They say the more things change, the more they remain the same.
Yeah.
Again, our young people are expected to be academically sound, ready to go on to some kind of post-high school training of some sort. They're expected to get a job. They're expected to be in sports or some other sorts of activities. A lot is really, really being expected of our young people. And it's not as, let's say, I always say back in the Jurassic, when I was in school, mom was home, dad went out to work. So there was always someone there when you got home. And people just cannot do that nowadays. As the economy, the cost of housing, transportation, all of these things, these factors do affect our young people. They really do. Coupled with that is we have so many more students who fall MLL, multi-language learners. Those acronyms change every so often. But they come in some not speaking English at all, or some knowing some of it, but the reading and the writing, and really everything they do is involves reading, of course, and that can be very difficult. And then you give them a standardized test in English, and they're supposed to figure this out. There's that equity issue. Give some of our youngsters who were raised here a test in a totally different language, and let's see how well we do if we were given something in the language we never really had a handle on.
And that's a little bit unique to Newport School Department because they do have a large MLL population.
Very much so, yes. Very much. And it's not just Spanish, because we have we get a number of students who come from other places where maybe dad is at the International Officer School over, on the base. He usually would be the fathers. He can speak English, but keep in mind, he's doing his studies. Mm-hmm. And so a youngster might come in speaking Arabic or some other language that you wouldn't even hear that often around here. I mean, Spanish is that's the most common of the other languages. Many of the youngsters who come in from South and Central America come in to the high school. They're old enough to get a job, and to say, well, can you stay after school and we'll work on your content areas or your language? They have to go to work. They're here because they had to find some kind of a safe haven with their families. And some of them had not been in school a number of years themselves. It just was not available for them. They would have difficulty reading and writing in their native language. And that's a burden. That is a real burden to carry. And they work so hard, and the families work so hard. They hold these jobs that, unhappily, some of the people, the people who were born and raised here, just would say, no, I don't want to do that. And we don't also want these young people to say, well, I'm here in America, this is good, and I'm going to become a citizen, but I'm going to be relegated to only working certain types of jobs that many of these young fellas and girls have the capacity to really just take right off and do so well. I'm thinking of one family that I know. The daughter graduated from Rogers, I think 2 years ago now, I think. And she was in the cosmetology program also. She got her license. And she's also going to college. And I think she wants to go on to maybe something in law or international studies or whatever. And she worked hard. She really, really worked hard. And her parents are just hard workers themselves. So, and they're a good example for a lot of others. Interestingly, when you look at the demographics of Newport Public Schools, there is no majority of any group. Everyone is a minority. And you say that to people and they say, wow, really?
Yes, it is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
As people consider 11 candidates, what do you think they should look at or consider when they're considering who to vote for Newport School Committee?
Well, I think to serve on such a body, in this case, a school committee, you have to look at people who have the best wishes, the best plans for our students' success, their safety and academic success. That the candidate should believe that our young people are capable of reaching their potential, that they have the right to choose the pathway that they want to follow, and never to take someone's country of origin, where their neighbor, what neighborhood they live in, or anything of that sort, to take it for granted and say, oh, well, that youngster can settle for something else. I think every one of us on the committee really should be wanting the very best for every single student, regardless of their ability when they come to us. That's number one. Number two, not be afraid to spend the resources wisely, see that we get our money's worth, and also not afraid to say to those who allocate the funds to us, the city council, and really say, this is what we need. And we're not going to cut anymore, because if you keep cutting and cutting and cutting, it's just, it's fruitless. It really is fruitless. Understanding that the cost of everything goes up, and understanding that the council has to balance the budget for the rest of the city. That's important too. It really is important too. And we understand that because each one of us is a resident of the city of Newport. We're all taxpayers. It's not us versus the taxpayers. We are part of this too. I get my tax bill and I say, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
And I think we have to, on a committee, is that we work as a team. We're not in lockstep. We are not rubber stamps and all the other analogies we can use. But we, anyone on a committee or a council, have to learn how to reach consensus on various issues and be willing to be lifelong learners themselves. I mean, I guess I'm an education wonk because learning. I am, that's it. We're learning all the time, and I never left school. I keep going in different doors here.
There you go. It's okay.
Yeah, and you get me going on this. I could go on for.
I know we could go forever, but
I know.
We can wrap up with why should people, when they're considering all 11, put a check mark next to your name.
Look at number 11. Yes, matter of fact, I looked up, does 11 have some significance? Well, yeah, check it out. It does in some cultures. They should look for someone who has the energy and the experience and the expertise in this field of education. Oh, that's all E's. And that I really feel, even though I put a lot of years into this, I feel I still have quite a bit more to contribute to the people of the city of Newport. One Newport, that's what we are.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. That went by very quick. We'll have to do it again.
My goodness. Oh, I'm looking at the time. Yes.
We'll have to do it again very soon. And maybe we could do 3 hours on multi-language learners and all of that.
Well, yeah.
We'll plan another time and talk to you instead of as a candidate, maybe as a committee member. But I've been thanking everybody, and I want to keep it going on. Thank you for all the time you've put in on school committee. Thank you for everything you do. You, committee members, candidates, all deserve thank you. So I hope I can start a trend of saying thank you for people who give up their time. So
thank you so much. This is a great opportunity.
Excellent. Well, we will chat again soon. I wish you the very best of luck, and I'll see you tomorrow night at the school committee meeting.
Oh, that's for sure. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Sandra J.
Bye-bye.
Flowers. We appreciate her taking the time to join us this evening. Certainly, they're running from meetings to committee meetings and all of that. If you missed any portion of this conversation, want to watch it again, want to share it, want to compare, contrast candidates, all available on whatsupnuke.com. Sign up for our newsletter. In our newsletter, we have the audio, the text, as well as the video, so you can compare and contrast all 11 candidates. I think we're chatting with 10 of them. Only one has not gotten back to us for school committee. Only one has not gotten back to us for city council. That's going to do it for this conversation. Thanks for watching.